Good evening, I'm back. I'm your host, Jack Remington of the Jack Remington NFL channel. This is our Week 5 video, Saturday, October the 8th. Sorry about last week, both for the videotaping, which was an emergency because my equipment crashed, and I had to use someone else's system that I was completely unfamiliar with, and I had to get the video out in time for everything to count. So I kept my credibility up. Now I got to start back on the bandwagon and making the picks. The bad news out of the way. 1 win, 3 losses, 1 push. The first loss was the Saints game. I had the Saints plus 2.5, and they were in the London game against the Vikings. And they were doing okay, and Dalton got in the game, and he was moving the ball pretty good against them. Other than Garoppolo, I think Dalton's probably the second best backup quarterback in the NFL, but now Garoppolo's a starter because Trey Lance got hurt for the 49ers. People saying, well, Cooper Rush, but I think Dalton's better. He's got more experience. Rush is still kind of riding the wave, and he's improving. He's on a little better team. But that's not the point. Snake bite there with the half-point loss. I should have known that taking the 2.5, you don't need the points. You're just trying to pick the winner. And I still thought the Saints was going to win the game, but it's still a bad pick in retrospect. And on Cronies in Camarillo, California, and there's brand new people I don't really know, but one guy's got his cell phone. If Green Bay loses this game to Patriots, I'll eat my cell phone. So we're trying to figure out a way to see if I can get him to eat his cell phone. And if I can remember to put the graphic up here, he had a text that was on some site somewhere, and he even showed it to me. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to lose my Green Bay game for Survivor Pool. But all my 10 o'clock games, I had the Ravens plus 3, had the Jets plus 3.5, the Jaguars plus 6.5. In the middle of the second quarter, I'm winning the Buffalo Bills game by 20 points, including the 3. I'm winning the Jaguars game by 20.5, and I'm winning the Jets game by 16.5. By halftime in the third quarter, I'm losing the Jets game. I'm losing the Jaguars game. Philadelphia scored 26 straight points, whatever it was, against the Jaguars in a rainstorm. Buffalo was making another one of their comebacks, and Baltimore, of course, wasn't going to score in the second half. If you take the Baltimore Ravens first half every game, they're the top-ranked team in the NFL. Go back and look at all the games. They're way ahead of everybody, and they're beat-slapping the NFL, no matter who they're playing. If you look at their second halves, and you can look this up, and I don't care who you call, or you call Elias Sports Bureau, call the NFL, call anybody you want. The Baltimore Ravens have the worst defense in the NFL based on only the second halves of each game. They're horrible. In the middle of the second quarter, I'm looking like a genius in these games, and I got the Denver Broncos. I got that as win, my best game in the back pocket. Okay, here we go, 4-1 coming up the home stretch. We'll put some space on these guys, make them sweat a little bit. And I go to the restroom, and I come back, and the next thing you know, I'm losing all my games. And then now I'm looking at 0-4, and I need the Broncos to make sure to cover their game against the Raiders, the winless Raiders. But I got lucky. The Jets had 7 straight 3-and-outs. I mean, they just could not move the ball, and Pittsburgh was slowly climbing back in the game, and Pittsburgh took a lead. I thought, my goodness, we'll lose this game. But the Jets had a miracle last-ditch effort for the last drive, and got a touchdown. And in Pittsburgh, they were 4-and-out, and fourth down, they fumbled the ball, whatever they did. Pickett completed every pass coming off the bench for the Steelers, but 3 of them were to the other team. But so what? I mean, he can say, hey, my debut, I'll complete every pass. So that's the bad news. Got the bad news. And then the good news, I'm still alive in my Survivor Pool. I had the Green Bay Packers, who tried to give the game to Bill Belichick and his Patriots, and I had the Dallas Cowboys, who tried to give the game away to Washington Commanders. And I'm going to touch on that game briefly. Washington was dead last in the NFL coming in week 4 with running yards. They were averaging 81 yards, 82 yards a game. They were last in the NFL. Average yards per rush, attempts, you name it. They were. By halftime, they were 100-some yards, and they looked like they were going to win that game. I mean, they were giving the Cowboys fits. I kept thinking, I'm going to lose this game. And then Green Bay, here comes Zappy, I never heard of him. He's the third-string quarterback on the Patriots. Touchdown, and the next thing they're beating Green Bay. They're winning that game at halftime, looking good. I thought, my God. And you can see Aaron Rodgers, he's going from side to side. You see him talking a little loud to the players. And they didn't show much of that because they only want to show Aaron Rodgers favorably during the games. They pick on him after the game. And then the game gets to overtime. Thank goodness that the real Green Bay shows up and stops them in the overtime. And then they come in and kick a field goal with very little time left. I mean, it almost ended the tie. In this pool I'm in, the ties lose. I'm not really sure how that should work in the Survivor Pool. I mean, you didn't lose, but you didn't win either. But I mean, it shouldn't knock you off the Survivor Pool. I used to belong to Survivor Pool many, many years ago. This is on the other video that got deleted last week. You were still alive. It counted as a win, except the last 2 weeks of the season. Then and that seemed a little more fair. And it happened to me one time. That's why I remember so well. They only had 16 weeks, and they didn't have the bye week either. Week 14, I had a tie. Cincinnati Bengals tied somebody, and I was still alive, and I got to go to week 15, and then I lost. So that I remember. And the team that beat me was the New York Jets. The same team beat me last year, the New York Jets. They knocked me out of the Survivor Pool. Long story short, this week in the Survivor Pool, I'll give you my picks now. We're going back to the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Buffalo Bills. And I'll talk about those games individually. I hope I don't forget Survivor, Jacksonville, Buffalo. Here's the topic, D-Man Westgate style contest week 5. He's got the lines that are set, and they're set Wednesday, so they can't change. And I was trying to get the edge and try to help us out. And it didn't work last week. I picked those the rainstorm. I was 1-1-1, so it was okay, but it's not okay. 1-3-1 is not cutting it. I mean, we need 4-1s and 5-0s. I'm going to try to string together some 5-0s, make these guys sweat up here. So the lines are set. I want to give out a good shout out to Happy Stir. He's got 2 entries. He's got 17 right. Okay, he's in first place right now, so that means he's 17-3. Big Tasty Muffin is 16-4. Big Dog entry number 2 is 16-4, and Happy Stir entry number 2, he's 16-4. So, but I wish everybody good luck equally. I can't favor somebody because they're in first place, and I'm rooting for the good guy or anything. I don't do that. I root for everybody equally, and I'm happy for these guys. So I want to give a congrats to these people, and let's see if they can hang on. It's been my experience that they very rarely can they ever hang on. I mean, it's hard to get 4-1, 5-0 week after week after week. Let's get to the picks, and we are going to take, I guess, on better judgment, but I think I got a good chance here. Taking a public favorite, which they don't usually do well. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars -7, and they're hosting the Houston Texans. 68% of the money is coming on the Jaguars when this thing was printed up a couple of days ago, and only 32 for the Houston Texans. But what's concerning about the Houston Texans, they're winless, the only winless team in the NFL. They're 0-3-1. The Houston Texans, when you look at the head-to-head, how they've done against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they beat-slapped the Jacksonville Jaguars 8 times in a row. Beat-slapped them. Houston's been favored every game, but Houston has covered 6 of the 8 games against the spread and beat them straight up the last 8, whether they're home or away. So you look at the injury report, Jacksonville's got 5 players, and Houston's got a mile long. I think that's 24 players on this injury report. Not that it weighs all that much, because was a week 3 video. Out of all the teams I talked about on the injury report, only one of them didn't play. Everybody else played and did okay. So I still look at the injury report for a key injury. After last week, they went toe-to-toe with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's probably the top-ranked team in the NFL right now, and deservedly so. They were 14 and looking good. But then I think Trevor Lawrence, he had his worst game I've seen in a long time. He fumbled the snap a couple of times and tried to run and fumbled the ball. I mean, the wheels came in, but the back door was open. After Philadelphia took its lead, Philadelphia took the 29-14. They scored 25 straight points. Philadelphia missed an extra point at the end of the second quarter. Instead of going up 21-14 and 2014, I was still win by half a point, but it wasn't looking good. In the third quarter, there was actually no scoring. I still had a chance. And Philadelphia pulls away after a couple turnovers, but then they missed a 2-point conversion. Jacksonville scored to make it 21-29, and they got the ball back, and they fumbled again. They lost 4 fumbles, and there was 2 interceptions. The Eagles didn't have any turnovers. Despite the Rain Bowl, Mud Bowl games that I picked, both teams kind of played well. But Jacksonville was playing really well in the first quarter, and it looked like a big upset in the making. They're pissed. And Peterson is the coach, and he brings up teams really quickly. He turns them into Super Bowl winners really quickly, like he did with the Philadelphia Eagles a few years ago. I'm going to lay the chalk here. I'm going to go with Jacksonville, and that's going to be that. And I'm just going to hope for the best. Pick number 2. I should have my head examined. Take the Chicago Bears plus 7.5. They're at Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota 3-1. They're back on track, and they're a contender, blah, blah, blah. Their defense is suspect. I'm not so sure. And I look at the head-to-head. I see Chicago getting some of the better of this. I mean, it's a division rivalry, and I see mixed measurements here where the Bears got a chance because they're going to run the ball and make it ugly. Both teams got some injuries, but I think it's a division rivalry. I think that Chicago are running the ball really well. And their defense is actually okay. I know they're 2-2, but not quite a false record. They did beat the 49ers on the road week 1. Can they do it? It's possible. Give me the points. 79% of the money is on the saw the Minnesota Vikings, and only 21 for the Bears. So they opened at Vikings -6. Now it's 7.5. I'm going to take my chances with that. I'm going to the Chicago Bears and just hope for the best. The line opened at Baltimore -1, and then there was a lot of pick'ems on over offshore and the Oregon sports book. 60% of the money's on the Ravens, 40% is on the Bengals. But we're still going to take the Bengals. I'm going to tell you why. I know last year Baltimore's got the double revenge spot, or you want to call it triple revenge. They need to win bad to stay in the thick of things. This loss of Buffalo hurts them, and they had the game won. They lost twice to Cincinnati last year. The first one was 41-17, and the next game was 41 to something. I forgot what it was. But Cincinnati just stomped them twice last year. And usually Baltimore owned this team, but now things have changed. Now Burrow is starting to come on the last couple of games, but he had the appendicitis. That's why I went against Cincinnati the first couple of weeks in the pool and everything else. But their offense is starting to click now. He's getting into football shape. Their defense is starting to play a little better. I just think that thing with the Peters, the defensive back in Harbaugh's face at the end of the game last week, telling Harbaugh you made a mistake by not kicking the go-ahead field goal and giving your defense a chance 4 minutes left. I think Harbaugh made the right decision, to be honest with you. He knows their defense is shit. So he knows if I got to get a touchdown here and hope for the best. And then if Buffalo goes, scores a touchdown, and when they get the ball back, I'll hope for the best in overtime. In retrospect, I'm seeing the pros and cons, and people are bashing Harbaugh. People saying he's finished, he's not got it anymore, he's lost it, blah, blah, blah. He needs to get fired, blah, blah, blah. He actually made the correct decision going for him 4th and goal at the 2-yard line. Had someone do a running play and have Jackson try to sneak in the corner of the end zone, so throwing the ball, giving the ball on the 20-yard line. That's what killed them. I just think this Cincinnati's starting to get into good shape. And I think Baltimore's got self-doubt. Baltimore is questioning themselves. They haven't won a home game. I don't know how long. They lost, 7 to 6 home games in a row now or more. Some teams just don't win at home, and just maybe the Ravens turn into one of them. The ultimate road warriors. They beat your ass on the road, but they can't do shit at home. And Lamar Jackson, probably the MVP in the NFL. He's single-handedly his character. I mean, they wouldn't win a game without this Lamar Jackson guy. You want to talk about a one-man team? He truly is a one-man team. And I'll argue anybody blue in the face just keeps saying, well, quarterback, running backs. No. When you're elite, you're irreplaceable. And Peyton Manning carried an Indianapolis Colts for I don't know how many years. I mean, every time he got out or he sat out or whatever, they got destroyed. I mean, he was the team. So we're taking the Cincinnati Bengals. We're only getting 3. I didn't realize that, but I already made the pick. I can't go back now. Pick number 4. We're going to take the New England Patriots -3. They're hosting Detroit Lions. And Detroit Lions, we love Detroit Lions, blah, blah, blah. Here's what's strange about this game. It's barely a public dog, 55-45. Now, this was taken a few days ago, this screenshot up here. The open, New England was a 6.5-point favorite. It's down to 3. So, to me, that's a huge move in the NFL. Money's coming on Detroit, and for it to come down like that, the way the betting is going, it's begging you to take the Lions. But I know Bill Belichick, and they haven't won a home game this year. They're, 0-2 at home? They need a home win bad. And Detroit's got a pretty bad defense. They're trying to outsink the Titanic with the Ravens with bad defenses. But their offense is pretty good. But I think Bill Belichick, he always B-slaps rookie coaches. He always B-slaps junior coaches. Watching a stand-up comedian the other night. There's some no-name guy, but he's pretty funny, even though he's a no-name. He said, hold me back, he's got the razor blade in his hand, hold me back, and people are saying, we want to see this, we want to see somebody hit their jugular with a razor blade, You had to hear the joke, but it made me think of Bill Belichick. I mean, he was angry at that Green Bay game. You can see him on the sidelines yelling at the refs all the time, and they had a couple bad calls against him. New England probably should have won that game. Even though I had Green Bay on my survivor pool, 60% of the remaining, they had 11 people left. 11 of us got knocked out. And only left like a handful of people in the survivor pool, the main one, which is unusual for week 5. So that shows you how the teams are really close this year. Teams are really even. You see Bill Belichick. I mean, he can take a tough loss, and he'll go. He'll get up there at the press conferences and won't smile. What are you thinking? We didn't play well. What do you want? What were we saying? And that's good and fine. But if he loses to a rookie coach or a junior coach like this, get the right, hold me back. He does not like to be out coached. I mean, it's an ego thing for Bill Belichick. I'm convinced, and I've been following him since he was with the Giants when he was the assistant head coach under Bill Parcells. One time, Bill Parcells did he had like a heart murmur, had some kind of stroke thing, and he was off for a few weeks. And they won every game. And Belichick, I knew he was going to be a great coach. I could see it. I could see it fire in him. He knows he should have came out of Green Bay with a win. Even though he's got down to a third-string quarterback, Detroit doesn't have any tape on this Zappy guy, this third-string quarterback guy who looked okay. It doesn't matter. Maybe they could save Mrs. Ford, the owner. She's the great-granddaughter of Henry Ford. You know, maybe they could save Detroit some money on the film room tape. I just don't even use the defense players to sit in the extra room, just to rent that room out and make money. So spending money on the film room for the defense because they have no defense. I'm going to lay the small chalk 3. The way I'm watching the betting here, I think this is one of the rare times I think the bookmakers might have made a mistake here. It should be. I had New England -7 when I do my own lines. The last game number 5. We're taking the Las Vegas Raiders. I know I was against them last week and I was bashing them and destroying them and running them down but their offense is the real deal. I mean, they look really well. I mean, they shredded that overrated Bronco defense. And people are telling, well, Broncos didn't come ready to play and they were coasting a little bit. And that very well may be true, but that was on the screen. The Jets on the one screen, and when that right in front of me. So when the Jets game was over, they turned on the Raiders game, and I'm telling you, they were moving that ball. I mean, I can never remember a Raiders team looking that sharp on offense. I mean, they look pretty damn good. That Derek Carr is a real deal. I keep telling you, he's going to, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be the one-man wrecking crew like Peyton Manning was for the Indianapolis Colts for a decade and a half. I was extremely impressed with the Raiders. I knew they had their backs to the wall. They were 0-3. They had to have a win, and they got it. I kept thinking, well, maybe they're looking ahead to the Chiefs this week. I don't think so. I'm not a big fan of Josh McDaniels. Just not a big fan. I think he's a chump. I think he's a chowderhead, but he was a good offensive coordinator under Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick knows how to control his players and his coaches, and not to where he wants them working all the time. And so I kept thinking there would be some drop off, and maybe McDaniels is used to it now. Maybe he's used to that constant grind, and maybe it's going to start rubbing off on the Raiders, which is a renegade team. That's their reputation. That's their persona. But if he can get the workmanship into the Raiders, they could turn into something here. So, like I said in the other video last week, 0-3 is not the death knell it used to be, because now they got an extra game. You can climb back in and sneak in and backdoor a wild card late in the season. So if the Raiders can win here, they're back in it. If they lose here, they're still not out. If they lose, it'll be 1-4. There's 4 teams got to bye: Detroit Lions, Tennessee Titans, Raiders, and the Texans. I'll talk about that in a second. A couple years ago in this spot, the Raiders beat the Chiefs. They were 15-point dogs, and they won the game outright. I think it was the Chiefs' first loss in the middle of that one season. The Raiders came out of nowhere. They were a sub 400 team. They were out of it. They showed up to play. They looked. I remember watching that game. They looked pretty damn good. So I know I shouldn't use that one game as a springboard for this, but it's one of the variables I'm using. I mean, they can beat the Chiefs. It's a division rivalry. It opened at 6. Now we're getting 7. I'm doing the numbers thing here. I got 72% of money against me. They're all betting the Chiefs. The Chiefs, again, are a big public favorite, and I don't like getting in front of the Chiefs early in the season. Like I said, I tried it once and I got burned. But the Chiefs are looking ahead to next week, the Buffalo Bills. I know Andy Reid, and I'm going to play these clips by Andy Reid. I'm supposed to play him last week, but the guy keeps saying Andy Reid is not a bad coach. Andy Reid's great, blah, blah, blah. Well, now I got more people other than me that thinks this. So there was a stat on the wagertalk.com. The guy, well, if you get a team that before the bye, when they know they got a bye week coming up, they play better, blah, blah, blah. So there's 60%. Well, that may be good and true. So out of the 4 teams, let's say we'll make it 50-50 because there's 4 teams. It's hard to do 60% with just 4 teams. So we're going to do 2 and 2. So the 2 teams that I think is going to play a little extra harder are the Raiders and the Tennessee Titans. They're the experienced teams. The inexperienced teams, Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans, not so much. So that's why I'm going to discount the guy's betting advice. I did want to touch on the survivor pool. 11 out of 19 had Green Bay. I mean, that would have been a complete disaster. And I'll make sure I put the screenshot up here. I can't put the guys' names because, they would be very angry with me if I were to do that. And this is the major pool, the one I want to win. It's got the most money. I'm going to try to win both first and second places. The other pool, I'm still alive, it's a minor pool just for gas money, dinner money at the cronies. And I'm still in that one. Enjoy your Andy Reid clip, because I keep telling you, he's the worst coach in the NFL. And he was given a courtesy, in my opinion. I know I shouldn't talk like that. It sounds like I'm a conspiracy nut. We didn't land on the moon. Elvis is still alive. Hitler's alive in Argentina. He'd be close to 200 years old if that were the case. He was born in the 1800s. I'm not a conspiracy nut. I don't believe in all these conspiracy things. I try to do based on a lot of facts when I can. I just think that Andy Reid was given a gift when he beat the 49ers a couple years ago, and I just can't get that out of my mind. I mean, they had the team clearly beat, had Mahomes picked off twice and sacked them and everything else, and they had the game under control, and they lost that game. Oh, I knew I was forgetting something. We won both our teasers last week, so let me give you the teasers this week. And they're both 16 teasers. The first teaser is Pittsburgh Steelers plus 20 and the Cleveland Browns plus 8.5. That's our first teaser. The second teaser is Dallas Cowboys plus 11.5. They're playing the Rams. And Cincinnati plus 9. We're up 180 units for the season so far on our teasers. And 100 units each. So if we win both of them, we'll be up 380. Stay with you means this is a great hobby. Great pastime. Long live the NFL. Hope nobody gets hurt. Even if it's the other team, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. That's not how I want to win my games. I want to win my games through merit. I win the games on the field. And there is some skill to handicapping. I admit that there's a lot of luck. If you're skillful enough, you can overcome a lot of the bad luck. That's just my opinion. I know I'm complaining about losing the 2.5 and the Baltimore game, and those two games was pretty hard luck. But I've won games where, I won by half a point, and I got lucky here, lucky there. So, and I'll always tell you when I feel I got lucky. So stick with me. They got a construction truck down. I forgot they got the construction today, even though it's Saturday. I got to go. It's interfering with the video. Stay with you means always great to be an American. Long live the NFL. I got nothing but winners, folks. Stick with me. Thank you. Have a great day.
I kind of just want to talk about the fact that Kansas City dicked around, and because of it, that's why they took an L this week, because they thought that they had the game at halftime when they didn't push to try and get the field goal, and then they run a stupid fake punt, 4th and 10, like they always seem to do with Andy Reid, because he thinks that he's the smartest guy of all time and that he's going to run all these dumbass gimmicky plays where they're like doing shovel passes on the goal line, and we think it's all great, and then we're going to have Romo up there talking about, did you see that sidearm from Patrick Mahomes? He's the first quarterback to ever throw it sidearm in the NFL. Like,
that does not sound good.
I don't care.
Put the clip in. Put the clip in.
It's the
It may be funny to you, motherfucker, but it's not funny to me.
Yeah.
Well played. It's just the fact that I don't understand what Kansas City's doing. They feel like they're just superior to everyone and they can keep dicking around. And that's why they lost. So
I agree. 100% agree.
Not
Andy Reid's team. No way.
I just want everybody to know that we had a live look-in and everybody who chose Kansas City to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl again, and we got a live clip, and we clipped it from beginning of the year.
A mountain so high it can keep me away. I must follow you.
Like a bunch of fucking sheep, y'all
I
just
did not
followed the leader.
Kansas City. Buffalo all the way.
A bunch of fucking sheep followers.